Hello and welcome. There are two videos in this unit. The first video will focus on how to calculate total unit cost using activity-based costing system, and the second video will focus on how to work out the total unit cost using absorption costing system. Okay, so this question is in unit 15. If you've not had time to read the questionnaire, please go back to read the question in the text and then come back to watch how we solve the question. This company is called Good Sleep Ltd. It's a fictional company and the company makes beds and mattresses. They make two different types of mattresses. They make the pocket sprung mattress and the foam mattress. We're also told that in the past they have used absorption costing system and they are now thinking about using activity-based costing system. And the essence of this is to find out whether or not there's a difference to the costing of their products. So we're given the selling price per mattress. We're given material cost and labor cost. So material cost and labor cost here will be the direct cost. The issue here is how we allocate the indirect production overheads to the cost objects. Okay, so if we're using activity-based costing system, how do we do this? How much of 1,725,000 should be allocated to making pocket sprung mattresses, and how much of this amount should be allocated to making foam mattresses in a year? Let's start with the output related overheads. How much of this amount, £498,750, should be allocated in making the total number of pocket sprung mattresses that the company wants to make in a year? And how much of this amount should be allocated in making foam mattresses? So to do this using activity-based costing system, we need to identify what the correct cost driver is. So this is called output related overheads. And what this means to me is if the company, which is Good Sleep Ltd, decides to make more than 1,000 pocket sprung mattresses, then that may increase the cost of these output related overheads. Okay, so annual production here would be my own cost driver, my chosen cost driver. Once you've identified the cost driver, you can then work out how much to allocate to pocket sprung mattresses and how much to allocate to foam mattresses, okay, in total. So how do we do this? For pocket sprung mattresses, the amount to allocate would then be 1,000 divided by the total mattresses to be made in the year, which is 3,500, and then multiply that amount by 498,750. Okay, so that will give us 142,500. So the difference between 498,750 and the amount we allocate to making pocket sprung mattresses will give us the amount to allocate to foam mattress, which will be £356,250. What this means is if we decide to make more mattresses, more foam mattresses, then we should expect that we'll incur more output related overheads, and this means that more of that amount should be allocated to making foam mattresses. So with quality control costs, this might include the cost of inspecting the mattresses to make sure that they are safe to sell. So what would be the most accurate way to allocate £252,000, which is the quality control, to pocket sprung mattresses and foam mattresses? So again, I would go for annual production in units. Now, if I had something like, let's say, number of inspections, that may be closely related to the quality control cost compared to the number of units produced, but we're not given that information. So again, how do we allocate the costs if we decide to use annual production as the cost driver? To be 1,000 divided by the total mattresses to be made in the year, which is 3,500, and then multiply that by £252,000. So that will give us £72,000. Okay, and the difference between 72,000 and £252,000 will give us the amount to be allocated to foam mattresses, so which will be £180,000. So that's the amount to allocate to making foam mattresses. So the next one is machine setup overhead. This will be the costs that are incurred in getting the machine ready or the equipment ready for production, okay, or for processing. So this could include the cost of testing the machine to make sure that it works, the cost of replacing some tools. So we need to identify what the cost driver is. The cost driver here might be total number of units produced in a year, but that may not necessarily be the case. In fact, for this question, that is not the case, because we are told that the number of setups per annum for pocket sprung mattress is 220. So to make 1,000 mattresses, the equipment has to be set up 220 times. while to make 2,500 mattresses, the equipment only needs to be set up 60 times. So our correct cost driver here will be the number of setups, and then we allocate the costs based on that. Okay, so for pocket sprung mattress, that will be 220 divided by the total, which is 220 plus 60, that will give us 280, and then multiply that by 845,600. So that will give us 606,400, and then the difference between this amount and 845,600 will give us 181,200, and that's the amount to allocate to making 2,500 foam mattresses for the year. Okay, so the last production overhead cost here is the procurement cost, and this includes the cost of purchasing raw materials that are needed for production, all those costs incurred in, for example, transporting the materials, the springs that are used to make dress as an example, that will form part of procurement cost. So this might not be driven by the number of units made, it might not be driven by the number of machine setups, but it may be driven by the number of purchase orders. So the correct cost driver here be the number of purchase orders per annum. So for pocket sprung mattress, that will 200 divided by the total number of purchase orders, which is 520 if you add 200 to 320, and then multiply that by 128,650. Okay, so that will give us 49,480 pounds 77 pence, and then a difference between this amount and 128,650 will give us the amount to allocate to making 2,500 foam mattresses. So once we're done with that, we then need to add up all the figures that we've allocated to pocket sprung mattresses and foam mattresses. Okay, and these are just the overhead costs, right? So what I've done here is just to copy and paste based on what we have solved already. Okay, so with output related overheads, this is the way we've split them based on the activity based costing system. Same with quality control, machine setup overheads, and procurement cost. Now if you add up these two figures, it should give you the same amount that we had in the original question, which is the total production overhead cost, £1,725,000. But the question has asked us to work out the total unit cost. So the cost of making one pocket sprung mattress, the cost of making one foam mattress. To calculate the total unit cost, we need to work out the overhead cost per unit first, right? So in this case, the total overhead cost for pocket sprung mattress, which is 928,000, needs to be divided by the total number of mattresses we need to make in a year, which is 1,000 for pocket sprung mattress. So the overhead cost per mattress for pocket sprung will be £928.38, and for foam mattress will be £318.65. So all we've done here is to divide the total overhead cost by the number of units to be produced in the year. So the next and final thing we need to do here is to add our direct cost to this indirect cost so we can work out the total unit cost. So going back to the question, we're given our direct costs here, which are the material cost and the labor cost. We've already worked out what the total production overhead cost per unit should be. So our total unit cost for pocket sprung mattress will be the direct cost, which is material cost and labor cost, plus the production overhead cost. So you see in the question, our material cost per unit for pocket sprung is £250, and the labor cost for pocket sprung mattress is £90 per unit. And for the foam is £150 material cost per unit and £60 for the labor cost per unit. Okay, and that's what we have here. Our production overhead cost is what we have just worked out, okay, which is £928.38 for pocket sprung mattress and £318.65 for foam mattress. So the total cost of making one pocket sprung mattress is £1,268.38, and for foam mattress is £528.65. This is using activity based costing system. So I'll see you in part 2, where we will discuss how to solve this same question using absorption costing system.